Velmoth stared at the numbers on his screen for the third time that morning. Something was wrong. No, not wrong exactly, strange, very strange. The employment statistics from the past year showed a pattern that made no sense to his logical Quillarian mind. Humans. Everything came back to humans. He leaned back in his chair at the Galactic Employment Bureau, headquarters, his forearms crossed in thought. Humans had joined the galactic community only 15 years ago. 15 years. Most species took centuries to integrate properly into galactic society. They needed time to learn the languages, understand the customs, adapt to different gravity levels and atmospheric conditions. But humans? They were everywhere now. The mining stations loved them. The construction platforms requested them specifically. Even the medical facilities wanted human staff. Velmoth had received 73 new contracts this month alone, all asking for human workers. The requests came from every corner of known space. He pulled up the comparison charts. Quillarians, his own people, had a solid employment rate. They were good workers, careful and precise. The Manthars were strong and reliable. The Vrexians were intelligent and skilled. All established species with thousands of years of civilization behind them. Yet somehow these newcomer humans had a 340% higher employment rate than any projection had predicted. Velmoth decided to write a memo. His superiors needed to see this data. Perhaps they could explain what he could not. He began typing with two hands while the other two brought up reference files. To upper management. Unusual employment patterns among human workers. He paused. How should he phrase this? He did not want to sound alarmist, but the numbers genuinely concerned him. Across the station in the cargo bay section, Hyunwoo was finishing his shift. The young human wiped sweat from his forehead and checked the manifest one more time. All containers secured. All pressure seals verified. Another good day of work. His supervisor, a tall Manthar named Crixol, approached with what humans had learned to recognize as a pleased expression.
Hyunwoo.
Good work today. Very good. Thank you, sir, Hyunwoo replied. He still found it odd that his supervisor seemed so impressed. He was just doing his job. Nothing special about it. I have question, Crixol said. The container in Section 7. You moved it alone? Hyunwoo thought back. Oh, the green one? Yeah, the loader was broken, so I just pushed it into position. It wasn't that heavy. Crixol's face did something complicated. That container weighs 400 kilograms. Right, about 800 pounds. Hyunwoo shrugged. I've moved heavier stuff back on Earth. My dad and I used to move furniture for extra money. Some of those old wardrobes were brutal. The Manthar stared at him for a long moment, then walked away shaking his head. Hyunwoo wondered if he had said something wrong. He still did not fully understand alien body language. Back in his office, Velmoth was now deep into incident reports. He had decided to research further before sending his memo. What he found made the situation even more confusing. 3 months ago, there had been an emergency on Mining Platform 7. A meteor storm had damaged the outer hull. Standard procedure was to evacuate the section and wait for specialized repair teams. But according to the report, a human worker named Hyunwoo had volunteered to go outside during the storm. He had sealed the breach manually while rocks the size of fists bounced off his suit. The platform supervisor had written, I tried to stop him. I told him it was too dangerous. He looked at me and said it was no problem. He fixed the breach in 20 minutes. Any of my regular crew would have died from the stress alone. I don't understand humans. Velmoth found another report. A human medical technician named Jisoo had worked for 32 hours straight during an outbreak on Station Gamma. 32 hours. Most species needed rest after 8 hours of work. Anything more caused serious health problems. But Jisoo had simply kept going. When asked about it later, she had said, oh, that's nothing. During my medical training on Earth, I once did a 40-hour shift. We just drink coffee and keep moving, coffee. Velmoth had looked that up before. It was a stimulant drink that humans consumed regularly. The amount of caffeine in a single human coffee would send most species to the hospital with heart palpitations. Humans drank 3 or 4 cups per day and called it normal. There was more. A human named Demi worked as a diplomatic attaché on the Quillarian homeworld. She had been there for 2 years. The Quillarian gravity was 0.6 standard, much lighter than most planets. Demi's reports mentioned that she exercised every day in a special high-gravity chamber. She said it was to stay healthy. When asked why, she explained that Earth's gravity was 1.0 standard, and without exercise in higher gravity, humans became weak. Velmoth tried to imagine living on a planet with 1.0 gravity. His own world was 0.5 standard. Anything higher than 0.7 was considered a heavy world. But humans? They evolved in 1.0 gravity. They thought it was normal. They complained about lower gravity making them feel floaty. He continued reading. Humans could heal from injuries that would cripple other species. They could eat foods that were mildly toxic to most galactic life. They could survive in temperature ranges that others found extreme. They could hold their breath for several minutes underwater. They could run for hours without stopping. The more Velmoth read, the more confused he became. Were humans some kind of engineered species? Had they modified themselves genetically? But no, the medical scans were clear. Humans were completely natural. This was just how they evolved. He finished his memo and read it through one final time. Upper management, I am requesting a formal investigation into human employment patterns. Either our assessment protocols are severely flawed, or humans possess capabilities that we do not fully understand. Their employment success rate suggests the latter. I recommend we study this species more carefully before further integration. Respectfully, Administrative Director Velmoth. He sent the memo and sat back. Surely his superiors would have answers. They always did. What Velmoth did not know was that his memo would not stay within management channels. By the next morning, it would be leaked to the Galactic Network. By the afternoon, it would be the most discussed document in 12 systems. Everyone would have an opinion about the human question. Some would call for restrictions on human workers. Others would defend humanity. Scientists would demand studies. Politicians would demand action. And humans, scattered across 100 stations and platforms, would continue doing their jobs completely unaware that they were at the center of a growing controversy. Hyunwoo went home that evening thinking about what to have for dinner. Damie was finishing a report about Quilarian trade policies. Jisoo was starting another shift at the hospital. None of them knew that a simple bureaucratic memo was about to change everything. In his office, Velmoth turned off his computer and prepared to leave. He had done his duty. He had reported the anomaly. Now it was up to others to figure out what to do about humans. He certainly could not explain them. As he walked through the station corridors, he passed by a human maintenance worker repairing a light panel. The human was working in a section where the temperature had failed, and it was currently at freezing levels. The human wore only his normal uniform and seemed perfectly comfortable. Velmoth pulled his thermal coat tighter and hurried past. Yes, humans were definitely strange. Very strange indeed. The memo had been live on the Galactic Network for 3 days when Velmoth received his new orders. His simple request for investigation had turned into a full-scale inquiry, and he was now in charge of it. Upper management wanted answers, and they wanted them quickly. Velmoth packed his travel documents and prepared for his first field visit. He would go to construction platform Theta 12, where a human engineer named Tae-sung had been working for the past 18 months. The platform's foreman, Krixal, had agreed to an interview. The journey took 2 days. When Velmoth arrived at the construction platform, he was immediately struck by the noise and activity. Massive girders were being assembled into what would eventually become a new space station. Workers from a dozen species moved across the structure, their suits bright against the black of space. Krixal met him at the docking bay. The large Manthar gestured with his primary arms in greeting. Director Velmoth, welcome. I received your message about the interview. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me, Velmoth replied. I understand you employ several human workers. Just one now. Tae-sung, best engineer I've ever had. Krixal led Velmoth through the corridors toward his office. The others got offered jobs elsewhere. Everyone wants human workers these days. They settled into Krixal's office and Velmoth activated his recording device. Tell me about Tae-sung. What makes him different from your other workers? Krixal was quiet for a moment, thinking. It's hard to explain. He does good work. Very good work. But it's not just the quality. It's where he's willing to work. What do you mean? Last month we had a problem with Section 18. It's on the outer edge of the platform. The radiation shielding wasn't installed yet. Standard procedure is to avoid that area until the shielding is complete. Too dangerous. Krixal pulled up a work log. But we had a deadline. I mentioned it to the crew during a meeting. I said we might miss our target date because of Section 18. Taesung volunteered immediately. Volunteered for what? To work in the unshielded section. Krixal's translator captured his tone of disbelief. I told him no at first. The radiation exposure would be significant. But he showed me the calculations. He said that with proper suit protection and time limits, a human could work there safely for up to 6 hours per day. Velmoth felt a chill. 6 hours in unshielded space? I checked with medical. They confirmed his math. Humans have much higher radiation resistance than most species. Something about their evolution on Earth. Krixal shook his head. Do you know what Earth is like, Director? I've read the basic information. I looked deeper after Taesung came to work here. Earth is classified as a high radiation environment. Their sun puts out more radiation than 70% of habitable world stars. Humans evolved under constant bombardment of radiation that would sterilize most planets. They developed natural resistance. Krixal pulled up an image of Earth from space. Beautiful planet. Absolutely terrifying when you understand what lives there. Velmoth made notes. What else can you tell me about Taesung's work? He works in conditions that others won't. Not because he's reckless. He's actually very careful. But his idea of dangerous is different from ours. Krixal showed Velmoth several work reports. See this? Last week there was a coolant leak in Section 9. Temperature dropped to -40 degrees. My crew evacuated immediately. Taesung went in to fix the leak. When I asked him about it later, he said -40 wasn't that cold. He said his hometown in Korea gets down to -20 in winter and people still go to work. -20. Velmoth could barely imagine it. His own species started having serious health problems at +10 degrees. That's not all, Krixal continued. Humans breathe oxygen. Do you understand what that means? It's their atmospheric requirement, yes. Oxygen is one of the most corrosive substances in the known galaxy. It literally rusts metal. It breaks down organic compounds. Most species breathe nitrogen or methane-based atmospheres. But humans? They require high concentrations of oxygen to survive. Their entire biology is built around processing this corrosive substance. Krixal's voice held a note of awe. And they don't just breathe it. They use it to burn fuel in their cells. It's like they're running controlled fires inside their bodies all the time. Velmoth was writing faster now. This was more complex than he had imagined. After the interview with Krixal, Velmoth requested a meeting with Taesung himself. The human agreed and met him in one of the platform's common areas during a break period. Taesung was young, maybe 30 Earth years. He wore standard work coveralls and carried a thermos of coffee. He sat down across from Velmoth with an easy smile. Director, what can I do for you? I'm investigating human employment patterns, Velmoth explained. Your supervisor speaks very highly of you. Krixal is a good boss, Taesung said. He took a drink from his thermos. The smell of coffee made Velmoth's eyes water even from across the table. He mentioned that you work in conditions that other species find difficult. Taesung shrugged. I just do my job. If something needs fixing, I fix it. But you work in unshielded sections. In extreme cold. These things don't bother you? Well, they're not comfortable, Taesung admitted. But they're manageable. Back on Earth, people work in all kinds of tough conditions. Construction workers in summer heat. Fishermen on icy seas. Miners deep underground. You do what needs to be done. Earth sounds harsh. Taesung laughed. I guess it is compared to a lot of places. But it's home, you know. We're used to it. He leaned forward. Can I tell you something? When I first came to space, I thought it would be harder. I trained for extreme conditions. But honestly, most space work is easier than construction work back home. Lower gravity. Climate-controlled stations. The only hard part is the vacuum, and the suits handle that. Velmoth tried to process this. Space work was considered one of the most demanding careers in the galaxy. Multiple species required extensive training and regular psychological support to handle it. But this human found it easier than his planet-side job. Tell me about your home planet, Velmoth asked. What's it like? Taesung thought for a moment. Korea, where I'm from, has mountains and cities and coasts. Hot summers, cold winters. We get typhoons sometimes, earthquakes occasionally. It's a pretty normal place. Earthquakes? Your planet's crust is unstable? Well, yeah. We're on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Lots of tectonic activity. Taesung said this as if it were the most normal thing in the world. You learn to deal with it. Velmoth made more notes. An unstable planetary crust. extreme seasonal temperature variations, high energy storms, and humans called this normal. His next stop was Medical Station Chai 7, where he interviewed Jisoo, the medical technician who had worked for 32 hours straight. She was smaller than Tae-sung, with quick movements and alert eyes. The outbreak was bad, Jisoo explained. We had over 100 patients come in within 6 hours. All the regular staff were overwhelmed. I just kept working. Someone had to. But 32 hours without rest? How is that possible? Jisoo smiled. During my medical residency on Earth, we regularly worked 24 to 36-hour shifts. It's part of the training. Your body adapts. You learn to push through fatigue. That seems dangerous. It can be if you're not careful. But humans are pretty good at operating on limited sleep. It's part of how we evolved. Our ancestors had to be able to stay awake to watch for predators, to take care of sick family members, to hunt prey across long distances. Jisoo paused. Plus we have coffee. There was that word again. Coffee. Velmoth was beginning to understand that coffee was somehow central to human functioning. His investigation continued for 2 more weeks. He interviewed 12 humans and 30 of their non-human colleagues and supervisors. Every interview added more pieces to the puzzle. Humans could function on less sleep. They could endure higher pain levels. They healed faster from injuries. They formed strong emotional bonds with their coworkers regardless of species. But the most important discovery came from reviewing security footage. Velmoth found the recording from Mining Platform 7, the meteor storm incident with Hyunwoo. He watched as the young human suited up and went outside while rocks bombarded the station. Other workers stood frozen in fear. But Hyunwoo moved calmly, efficiently. He sealed the breach and even rescued an injured Quilarian worker, carrying him to safety through conditions that should have caused panic. Velmoth replayed the footage 3 times. This wasn't just about physical capability. This was about mindset. Humans assess danger differently. What caused paralyzing fear in other species caused only heightened alertness in humans. He began to formulate a theory, but he needed more data. Much more data. This investigation was far from over. The Galactic Labor Summit was held on Concordia Station, a massive neutral facility that orbited between 3 major systems. Representatives from 47 species had gathered to discuss what everyone was now calling the human question. The leaked memo had sparked debates across known space, and the council had decided that an official response was needed. Velmoth sat in the observers section, feeling overwhelmed. His simple investigation had turned into this, a full diplomatic conference with thousands watching via live broadcast. He had submitted his preliminary findings last week. Now he had to watch as politicians and activists argued over what those findings meant. Ambassador Seung-ho represented Earth at the conference. He was older than the humans Velmoth had interviewed, maybe 50 Earth years, with gray hair and the posture of someone who had served in the military. He sat calmly at the Earth delegation table while other representatives argued around him. The first speaker was a Vrexian politician named Thelmos. He stood at the central podium, his purple skin flushed darker with emotion. We must face facts. Humans are displacing workers from established species. They accept lower pay. They work in dangerous conditions. They're driving down safety standards across the galaxy. Murmurs of agreement came from several delegations. Velmoth noticed that most of them represented species whose employment rates had dropped since humans entered the galactic community. Thelmos continued. I have documentation here of incidents involving human workers. Reckless behavior. Disregard for protocols. Last month, a human cargo pilot named Bora flew her ship through an ion storm to make a delivery deadline. An ion storm. Any sane pilot would have waited for it to pass. She delivered critical medical supplies to a colony, a voice called out. Velmoth recognized young Mi, a human labor rights advocate. She stood up from the visitors section. That colony had an outbreak. People were dying. Bora made a choice to help them. She risked her life unnecessarily, Thelmos shot back. This is exactly the kind of reckless behavior I'm talking about. The argument continued for another hour. Some representatives called for restrictions on human employment. Others defended humanity. Velmoth listened and took notes, trying to stay objective, but he was increasingly sympathetic to the human position. His investigation had shown him that humans weren't reckless. They simply operated with different risk calculations. Then, during the afternoon session, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Everyone froze. A calm automated voice spoke over the intercom. Emergency. Docking Bay 7 has experienced catastrophic seal failure. Hull breach detected. All personnel evacuate affected sections immediately. Chaos erupted in the conference hall. Representatives began rushing toward the exits. Station security tried to maintain order, but panic was spreading quickly. A hull breach could mean explosive decompression. It could spread to other sections. Everyone wanted to get to the escape pods. Velmoth stood frozen, unsure what to do. Then he noticed something odd. The human delegation wasn't panicking. Ambassador Xiong-Ho was speaking urgently into his communicator. Young Mai was pulling up station schematics on her data pad. They looked focused, not frightened. Xiong-Ho's voice cut through the noise. Bora, are you nearby? A voice crackled back through the speakers. Everyone in the hall could hear it now. I'm 2 corridors away, Ambassador. What's the situation? Docking Bay 7. Major breach. Can you help? There was a pause. Then Bora's voice came back, steady and calm. Yeah, I can get there. Gathering a team now. Velmoth watched in amazement as Ambassador Xiong-Ho began coordinating with station security. Within minutes, he had identified 6 other humans who were on the station. All of them were cargo workers or ship crew. All of them volunteered immediately to help. The conference hall's main screen switched to security camera feeds. Everyone could see Docking Bay 7 now. A cargo ship had torn loose from its moorings and crashed into the bay's outer door. The seal was failing. Atmosphere was venting into space. Automated systems were trying to close emergency bulkheads, but something was jammed. Station security reached the bay first, but they stopped at the inner door. The bay was still partially pressurized but unstable. Going in there could be fatal if the remaining seals failed. Then the humans arrived, 7 of them, led by Bora. They were wearing emergency pressure suits, the kind kept in lockers throughout the station. Bora was checking everyone's seals, making sure their suits were secure. Velmoth watched as Bora spoke into her communicator. We're going in. We'll try to clear the jam on the bulkhead doors. If we can get those closed, it'll contain the breach. A security officer's voice came back. Negative. Too dangerous. Wait for specialized equipment. How long will that take? Bora asked. 20 minutes minimum. The bay will be completely depressurized by then. The breach will spread to adjoining sections. Bora's voice was matter-of-fact. We're going now. They went through the inner door before anyone could stop them. The security cameras showed them entering the bay, moving carefully but quickly across the damaged floor. Debris floated everywhere. The cargo ship was still shifting, its hull scraping against the bay walls with horrible grinding sounds. In the conference hall, everyone watched in silence. Even Thelmos had stopped talking. The humans worked methodically, 3 of them clearing debris from the jammed bulkhead mechanism while the others secured the loose cargo ship with emergency cables. The station shook. Another seal had failed somewhere. The humans stumbled but kept working. Velmoth noticed that their movements were smooth despite the lower gravity. They had adjusted perfectly to Concordia's 0.6 standard gravity. It took 12 minutes. 12 minutes of watching humans work in conditions that would have killed most species. Finally, Bora's voice came through. Bulkhead is clear. Triggering closure now. The massive emergency doors began to slide shut. They locked into place with a deep boom that echoed through the station. The breach was contained. The humans made their way back through the inner door. When they emerged, removing their helmets, the security officers stared at them. One of the humans, a young man named Wu Jin, was grinning. That was intense. Everyone okay? The conference hall erupted into noise again. But this time it wasn't panic or argument. People were talking excitedly, replaying what they had just witnessed. Several delegations were on their feet, applauding. Ambassador Xiong-Ho stood and walked to the central podium. The hall gradually quieted. When he spoke, his voice was firm but not aggressive. I think we just saw a demonstration of what this conference is really about. Let me explain something about humans that you might not understand. He paused, making sure everyone was listening. Earth is a difficult world. We evolved in 1.0 standard gravity. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen, which most of you consider highly corrosive. Our planet has extreme weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, predators that hunted us for millions of years. Our own biology is dangerous. We can die from simple infections, from falls, From temperature exposure. Everything on Earth is constantly trying to kill us. Velmoth listened intently. This was the answer. This was what his investigation had been leading to. Seung-ho continued. We survived by adapting, by learning to assess risk quickly, by pushing through fear and pain, by working together despite danger. These aren't special human qualities. They're survival traits. We had to develop them or go extinct. He gestured to the screen which still showed the damaged docking bay. When Bora and her team went into that bay, they weren't being reckless. They calculated the risk. They determined it was survivable. They had the skills to help. So they helped. That's what humans do. The hall was completely silent now. We don't want to replace anyone, Seung-ho said quietly. We don't think we're better than other species. We're just different. We evolved in extreme conditions, so we're comfortable in extreme conditions. That's all. He sat down. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Young-mi stood up and added, We know some of you are worried about jobs, about safety standards, about human influence. Those are valid concerns, but maybe instead of seeing us as a threat, you could see us as partners. We fill a niche that other species don't want. We work in places that others find too dangerous. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. Thelma stood again, but this time his tone was different, less aggressive, more thoughtful. I may have been too hasty in my assessment. What we witnessed today was remarkable. Perhaps we need more information before making any decisions. The conference continued for 3 more days, but the tone had changed. The rescue at Docking Bay 7 had shifted the entire discussion. Humans weren't mysterious or threatening. They were simply adapted to conditions that most species found terrifying. Velmoth began working on his final report, and for the first time since this investigation began, he felt like he understood humans. They weren't the mystery he had thought they were. They were just survivors from a dangerous world, trying to find their place in the galaxy. The Scientific Commission arrived on Earth 3 weeks after the Concordia Conference. 5 species had sent representatives, including Velmoth himself. He had requested to join the team because he needed to see Earth with his own eyes. The numbers and reports told one story, but he wanted to understand the reality behind them. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, and Velmoth watched from the observation deck. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. White clouds swirled in complex patterns. Green and brown continents sat between the seas. It looked peaceful and inviting. Dr. Jae-hoon met them at the landing facility in a place called Seoul. He was a human evolutionary biologist, middle-aged with friendly eyes and an easy smile. Welcome to Earth, he said. I hope your journey was comfortable. The commission members emerged from the ship carefully. The gravity hit them immediately. Earth's 1.0 standard gravity felt heavy, oppressive. Velmoth's 4 legs struggled to support his weight. The Vrexian representative needed to sit down after only a few steps. The Manthar was breathing heavily. Dr. Jae-hoon looked concerned. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have had gravity assist platforms ready. Let me call for some equipment. Is this normal for you? Velmoth asked. His legs were already aching. This gravity? This? Yes, this is normal. Standard Earth gravity. Jae-hoon looked thoughtful. I suppose it does feel heavy if you're not used to it. Most humans don't really notice it because we grew up here, but we do feel the difference when we go to space. Everything feels light and floaty up there. They brought motorized platforms for the commission members to ride on. It was embarrassing but necessary. None of them could walk far in this gravity. Meanwhile, Dr. Jae-hoon walked beside them easily, carrying equipment cases that must have weighed 20 kilograms each. The first stop was Dr. Jae-hoon's laboratory at Seoul University. He had prepared presentations about human evolution and biology. The commission settled into chairs that had been specially modified for different body types. Even sitting down, Velmoth felt the gravity pressing on him. Dr. Jae-hoon began his presentation. Earth is what we classify as a terrestrial planet in the habitable zone. But compared to most inhabited worlds in the galaxy, Earth is extreme in several ways. He pulled up a comparison chart. First, gravity. Earth is 1.0 standard, which puts it in the top 15% of inhabited worlds. Most species evolve on planets with 0.4 to 0.7 standard gravity. Humans evolved in twice the gravity that most of you experience as normal. The chart showed other comparisons: atmospheric oxygen levels, surface temperature ranges, tectonic activity, storm intensity. In every category, Earth was at the high end of the scale. Second, our atmosphere: 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen. That oxygen concentration is unusually high. Oxygen is a highly reactive element. It's why fire burns so easily on Earth. It's why metal rusts. It's why we need antioxidants in our diet to prevent cellular damage. We literally breathe a corrosive substance every second of our lives. A commission member from the Quelix species raised a manipulator arm. How do you survive breathing such a dangerous substance? Evolution, Dr. Jehoon replied. Our cells develop defenses. We use the oxygen to burn fuel efficiently, which gives us high energy output, but we also developed repair mechanisms. Human cells are constantly fixing damage from oxidation. It's part of our normal biology. He moved to the next slide. Third, our sun. Sol is a G-type main sequence star. It puts out significant amounts of ultraviolet radiation. This is why humans have melanin in our skin for protection. It's why we can develop skin cancer from too much sun exposure. Most species come from planets with calmer, less intense stars. Velmoth was taking notes frantically. Every fact added to the picture of Earth as a high-intensity environment. Fourth, our biosphere. Earth is old. Life has been here for billions of years. Evolution has been running for a very long time. The result is an incredibly diverse and competitive ecosystem. Predators, parasites, diseases, poisonous plants, venomous animals, bacteria and viruses that can kill in days. Humans evolved while constantly being attacked by our own planet's life forms. Dr. Jehoon paused and smiled. Would you like to see some examples? We have a nature preserve nearby where you can observe Earth life safely. The commission agreed, though Velmoth noticed some reluctance from his colleagues. They took a transport vehicle to the preserve. The ride took 20 minutes, and even inside the vehicle, the gravity was exhausting. At the preserve, they met Minseo, a human wilderness guide. She was young and athletic, wearing practical outdoor clothing. I'm going to take you on a gentle hike through the preserve, she said cheerfully. Nothing too strenuous, just a basic nature walk. The commission members looked at each other nervously. Walking in this gravity would be difficult. But they had come here to learn, so they agreed. The gentle hike was torture. The trail went uphill. Not steeply, but any incline in 1.0 gravity was hard work. Within 10 minutes, the Vrexian was gasping for air. The Manthar's legs were shaking. Velmoth felt like his hearts were going to burst. Meanwhile, Minseo walked ahead effortlessly. She was even carrying a large pack of equipment. She kept stopping to wait for the group, looking apologetic. Sorry, I'm going too fast. I'll slow down. They stopped at a clearing to rest. The commission members collapsed onto benches while Minseo checked her equipment. She wasn't even breathing hard. This is a normal walk for you? Velmoth managed to ask. Well, I usually go faster, Minseo admitted. And I usually do longer distances. This is about 2 kilometers. I typically hike 10 or 15 kilometers when I go out, but I know this is hard for you, so we're keeping it short. 15 kilometers. In this gravity. Velmoth couldn't even imagine it. Minseo pointed to the forest around them. See those trees? Most of them are over 100 years old. Some are several hundred years old. They've survived storms, droughts, fires, insect infestations, and disease. Only the strongest survive. That's Earth. Everything is constantly competing to survive. She showed them various plants and explained their defenses. Thorns, poison, tough bark, aggressive growth patterns. Even the plants on Earth were hostile. Then she showed them tracks in the mud near a stream. These are from a wild boar. They're common in these forests. Omnivores can be aggressive if threatened. Humans used to hunt them for food. Used to hunt them? The Quelix representative asked. Why did you stop? Oh, we still hunt them in some areas. But mostly we raise domestic animals for food now. It's more efficient. You hunted these creatures? They look dangerous, Minseo smiled. They can be. Humans are persistence hunters, though. We evolved to track and chase prey for hours or even days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We're not the fastest animals, but we're the best at endurance running. We just keep going long after our prey is too tired to continue. Velmoth thought about this. Humans had evolved to run their prey to death through sheer persistence. What kind of environment created a species like that? Back at the laboratory, Dr. Jehoon showed them medical data. Human bodies are remarkably resilient. We have a strong immune system because we had to fight off constant infections. We heal quickly from injuries. We can survive blood loss that would kill most species. We can go days without food, weeks without full nutrition. Our bodies store energy as fat for emergency use. He showed them data on human pain tolerance. Humans have pain receptors, obviously, but we also have high pain thresholds. We evolved to keep functioning even when injured. A human can break a bone and still walk on it if necessary. We can ignore pain when we need to in order to survive. The final presentation was about human psychology. Humans are social creatures. We form strong bonds with family, friends, and work groups. These bonds cross species barriers easily. Humans working with aliens quickly develop loyalty and friendship with their teammates. This isn't unusual for us. We're very adaptable socially. Dr. Jae-hoon looked at each commission member. Here's what you need to understand. Humans aren't special. We're not engineered or enhanced. We're just the product of evolution on a high-intensity world. Every trait you've observed, every capability that seems unusual, it all comes from simple survival adaptation. We evolved in conditions that would kill most species. So those conditions don't scare us. They're just normal. That evening, the commission gathered to discuss their findings. They were exhausted from fighting Earth's gravity all day, but they had the answers they came for. The Vrexian representative spoke first. I understand now why humans work the way they do. This planet is a nightmare. It's beautiful, yes, but everything about it is dangerous. The gravity, the atmosphere, the radiation, the life forms. Humans evolved to survive constant threat, the Manthar agreed. They're not reckless. They simply have different parameters for what constitutes danger. What we find terrifying, they find normal. What we find impossible, they find challenging but manageable. Velmoth looked at his notes. Months of investigation had led to this simple truth. Earth was a death world by galactic standards, and humans were death world survivors. That explained everything. He began writing his final report. The galaxy needed to understand what humans really were. Survivors from the most intense habitable environment in known space. 6 months after the scientific commission published their report, the galaxy had changed in small but significant ways. Velmoth sat in his new office reviewing the implementation of the updated employment guidelines. His title was now Director of Interspecies Labor Integration, and his primary job was helping the galaxy adapt to humanity's presence. The Commission's report had been very clear. Earth was officially classified as a Class 12 death world, the highest classification in the galactic database. Humans were survivors from an extreme environment. Every unusual trait, every surprising capability, came from evolution on a planet that constantly threatened extinction. The galaxy had accepted this truth, though not always easily. Some species still felt threatened by human competition, but the new guidelines helped. Humans weren't replacing other workers. They were filling niches that nobody else wanted to fill. Velmoth's first task had been to establish the Extreme Environment Operations certification. Humans who wanted to work in high-risk areas had to pass tests proving they understood the dangers. But the tests weren't hard for them. Most humans passed easily because the extreme conditions were just normal Earth conditions. High gravity, temperature swings, radiation exposure, low oxygen environments. The certification came with premium pay, not because humans were better, but because the jobs literally couldn't be done safely by other species. A human working in unshielded space earned triple the normal rate. A human doing high-gravity construction earned quadruple. The galaxy was finally acknowledging that these jobs weren't normal. They were survival situations, and humans were the only species evolved to handle them. Velmoth pulled up current employment data. The numbers had stabilized. Humans made up about 12% of the total galactic workforce now. But they were concentrated in specific sectors: rescue operations, extreme environment construction, hostile planet surveys, deep space exploration. Places where other species needed extensive equipment and support, humans could work with basic tools. His communicator chimed. It was a message from Hyun-woo, the cargo worker who had started this whole investigation by volunteering during that meteor storm. Velmoth had kept in touch with several of the humans he'd interviewed. The message was simple. Director, wanted to let you know I got promoted. I'm running a training program now, teaching mixed species teams how to work together in emergency situations. Thanks for everything you did. Humans are finally being understood out here. Velmoth smiled. Hyun-woo's training program was one of several that had started in recent months. Humans were teaching other species about risk assessment, emergency procedures, and stress management, not to make other species more like humans, but to help everyone work together more effectively. His next appointment was a conference call with Tae-sung, the engineer from construction platform Theta-12. Tae-sung's face appeared on the screen, and Velmoth noticed he was calling from a new location. "Director Velmoth, good to see you," Tae-sung said. "I wanted to update you on the consulting firm." Tae-sung had started a business designing equipment that could operate in what he called human normal conditions. High gravity, extreme temperatures, corrosive atmospheres. Galactic companies building facilities on harsh worlds needed this expertise. Tae-sung's firm was already contracted for 7 major projects. "Business is good," Tae-sung reported. "We just finished specs for a mining operation on a Class 9 death world. The planet has 1.2 standard gravity and surface temperatures that swing from -50 to +60 degrees. Most species can't even visit it, but it's rich in rare minerals. With the right equipment, humans can work there comfortably." "That's excellent news," Velmoth said. "You're proving that humans can help open up resources that were previously inaccessible." After the call, Velmoth reviewed messages from Jisoo, the medical technician. She had been promoted to director of a new program teaching alien medical staff how to treat human patients. Human biology was strange by galactic standards. Their healing speed, their pain tolerance, their resistance to certain toxins. Medical facilities needed specialized training to handle human cases. Jisoo's message included a funny story about a Calarian doctor who had panicked when a human patient's body temperature was 37 degrees Celsius. The doctor thought the patient was dying of fever, but that was normal human body temperature, actually on the cool side. Human bodies ran hot because of their high oxygen metabolism. They were literally burning fuel inside their cells at rates that would cook most species. The afternoon brought a video message from Ambassador Seung-ho. The older human looked tired but pleased. "Director, I wanted to thank you personally. Your investigation and your honest reporting changed everything for humans in the galactic community. We're not seen as threats anymore. We're seen as specialists with unique capabilities. That makes all the difference," he continued. "We've established a formal human integration office on Earth. We're helping new human workers prepare for off-world employment, teaching them about alien customs, communication styles, safety expectations. We want humans to be good galactic citizens, not just useful workers." Velmoth appreciated that. Cultural integration was as important as employment integration. The next message was from Bora, the cargo pilot who had become famous during the Concordia incident. She was now running a shipping company that specialized in dangerous routes. Ion storms, debris fields, high radiation zones, places where other pilots refused to go. "We call it extreme logistics," Bora's message explained. "All human crews, all high-risk routes. We're making good money because nobody else wants these contracts. But it's honest work. We're helping colonies and stations that need supplies delivered no matter what conditions exist." Her company employed 37 humans now, all of them experienced pilots and cargo handlers. They had a perfect safety record, because while the routes were dangerous by galactic standards, they were merely challenging by human standards. That evening, Velmoth attended the opening ceremony for New Haven Colony. It was the first joint venture colony on a genuine death world. The planet had 0.9 standard gravity, a thin but breathable atmosphere, frequent seismic activity, and temperature extremes. No single species would have tried to colonize it, but the joint venture brought together humans and 4 other species. Humans did the outside work: construction in temperature extremes, repairs during seismic events, exploration of unstable regions. The other species handled the inside work: administration, research, manufacturing, agriculture. Each species contributing what they did best. Daimi, the diplomatic attaché, gave a speech at the ceremony. Velmoth watched via live stream. She stood on the colony's main platform, wind whipping her hair, speaking without notes. "This colony represents what we can achieve together," she said. "Humans aren't here to replace anyone or prove we're better. We're here because this planet is similar to our homeworld. The high gravity doesn't bother us. The temperature swings feel normal. The seismic activity is just part of life. For us, this is comfortable." She gestured to the mixed species crowd. "But we can't run this colony alone. We need our Quilarian partners for their administrative expertise. our Manthar partners for their manufacturing skills, our Vrexian partners for their research capabilities. Every species brings something essential. That's the point of galactic community. We're stronger together. The crowd applauded. Velmoth felt a sense of accomplishment. 6 months ago, humans had been a mystery, maybe even a threat. Now they were partners. The colony was proof that understanding led to cooperation. A few days later, Velmoth was reviewing progress reports when young me, the labor rights advocate, sent him a video. It showed a party at a construction platform, humans and aliens celebrating the completion of a difficult project. They were laughing together, sharing food, telling stories. One segment showed a human teaching a Manthar about coffee. The Manthar took one sip and immediately ran for water, his face twisted in disgust. Everyone laughed, including the Manthar once he recovered. Then the Manthar offered the human some of his species' traditional drink. The human tried it, made a face, and said something that made everyone laugh again. Young me's message read, "This is what success looks like. Not humans dominating, not other species fearing us. Just different people working together and learning to appreciate each other's differences. Your investigation made this possible." Velmoth watched the video 3 times. It reminded him why he had started this investigation. Not to restrict humans or limit their opportunities, simply to understand them. Understanding had led to acceptance. Acceptance had led to cooperation. He opened his computer and pulled up the original memo he had written 6 months ago. That simple document questioning human employment patterns. It seemed almost naive now, asking why humans were so successful without understanding what they were. The memo had been archived in the Galactic Employment Bureau's database, but Velmoth decided it deserved a better place. He submitted it to the Galactic Archives as a historical document, not because it was important by itself, but because of what it had started. The archivist accepted it with a note, to be displayed as the document that helped the galaxy understand humanity's place among the stars.